Mano uncle had many qualities I admired.
He was a Renaissance man.
I was the recipient of a great deal of my Mano uncle's generosity.
He brought a lot of fun to everything that we did.
He was a man of many talents and interests.
Everything is interesting about Mano Mama.
He's the reason I love pomegranates, especially too. He and that tree.
My whole lifetime is littered with memories.
The biggest one was his graciousness.
You can't just say he was a hard worker or a good friend or a good father. You'd miss huge swaths of his personality.
So he was always there, he was always supporting us.
It's kind of nice to have a neutral outsider then share the same views as the family.
There were many instances where he made me laugh.
Some of my earliest memories, way back in time, are about Uncle Mano.
There were many Mano uncles.
After 84 years, I think back how we grew up.
This is Mano Aaron, youngest of the three siblings, Felicia, Manuel, and Mano.
When we three siblings were growing up in our uncles and aunts' home, we looked after each other. We three used to go to school by riding bicycles across the bridge over the Jamuna River. I remember riding on the back seat of Anand's bicycle. Then he would drop me off at the Jamuna school, and he and my sister went on to the adjacent Evening Christian College. Our father had retired. I was supported in college by Anand and Anni when they themselves were newly married. Without their sacrifice and support, I would not be what I am today. Anand never considered me a burden. That sentiment is aptly captured in the Hollies' 1969 song, "He Ain't Heavy, He Is My Brother."
But I'm strong, strong enough to carry him. He ain't heavy, he's my brother.
My brother Mano was a very, very affectionate person and family oriented. He always wanted to have the family around him, inviting people to come and see his relatives, and he always wanted to be, wanted to make things happen for others. And he was here 5 years back with Rani, and he took us out to a place called Kunur in the Nilgiris, and it was a very memorable outing. And that was the last that we saw him. It was 2019, he went back to the US, and after that we only corresponded over the WhatsApp and cell phone, talking to each other. He had a compassion for the poor. He told me last time, he actually helped me. He said, if you want anybody for any help for education for anybody there who are coming up who don't have money, let me know. And I did recommend one girl who was from a very, very poor background and with no connections at all. And she needed the fees for the final exam to become an engineer. At that time, I didn't have that money. A few months earlier, I had helped her with some of the amount, but at this time, when she needed it for the final exams, I didn't have the money. So I asked Mano, and immediately he sent me the money, whatever was needed for that girl. And today that girl is an engineer. He also said that you don't give fish to people who are poor. Teach them how to catch fish. Don't give them fish. Teach them how to. That is, he laid emphasis on education and the poor and the young. That's what his priority was. And I love him because of that.
We used to receive letters from him. So through his letters, I came to know about Mano Mama even when I was 3 or 4 years old. My mom and he were always in touch with each other, and his letters were always interesting about all the information, about the school life of Jyoti and Salim. When Salim was given his new first bicycle, and all those interesting stuff. And his letters always contained interesting pictures also, family pictures. And I still remember that there were sachets of Kool-Aid and vegetable seeds, flower seeds. And when my mother was eager to read those letters, I was eager to get into the other stuff, especially Kool-Aid. And I was the one who used to mix the drink for the whole family. So it used to come in different colors. So it was very interesting. And once or twice I remember there were sheets of white paper. With it, US dollar bills were fixed, and so my mom and I used to carefully remove those dollar bills from the sheets of paper, and my mother used to give it to Manuel Mama, and my mama used to exchange it and give it back in rupees. So yeah, it was always interesting to receive letters from Mano Mama. And one more thing, he always used to send gifts for my birthday. So when I was little, it said that it was for Gracia. So the check would be encashed, and my parents would buy something for me, a new dress or whatever. And when I reached the age of 18, he sent a check on my name, and my father opened an account for that, so that I could encash it directly. And I used to take it, and I used to spend the money with my friends, go to a movie, have good food, and all that. Say, "Valga, Mano Mama, valga." As I was in school final, we had to wear a traditional sari kind of thing, with a skirt. It was called a half sari. And so the first time I met, I came straight from school, and we were waiting for them in Manuel Mama's house. So I was quite plumpy, and plumpier than my sister. So Mano Mama would pull my leg, saying that I was the elder one, I was the elder daughter. And so he used to pull my leg and jokingly say that I was the elder girl. And I would say, no. And it was fun meeting you all for the first time.
I remember how he was very cheerful and energetic, and was very interested in us.
About 1966, I think we went to India first time. First to Mumbai to meet my in-laws. I was going to be in India for 3 months, so yes, the weddings came. Suresh's wedding happened, so I was there with the two of my daughters. And when we were in Mumbai, Rani came and visited us. Was with me in Mumbai because I was there by myself, not with my husband. First time around meeting the family. So she was there, but then she got called back because of engagement. When I went to Allahabad, come to find out then that Mano was one of the, was the person she was engaged to, and that's the first time I met him. We ended up in Suresh's wedding. I think afterwards was Rani's wedding. So then at that time, really got to know Mano a little more. So when he came to US first time, as he has mentioned many times, that he came in January 1968. He landed at Dallas Airport and came to our place. And, as always, he was. It was cold coming from India. It was too cold, so he was. He mentioned that he was wearing his dad's green army jacket or something like that. But he came to our place in '68, beginning of '68, and from there, then he went to Amherst for his college degree. A little later, Rani and Jyoti came and stayed with us, and he was there at that time with us also. Then when we did our first visit to California, I went by myself with the girls, and we stayed with them, Rani and Mano, and then went to Yosemite. He took us there. It was the best time.
How do you share 58 years of memories?
In 1952, Mano and I were on the same campus in India, in Allahabad Agricultural Institute. So we knew about each other through the happenings in the college.
I remember first meeting Mano in 1966 when I was in India. We were going to get married, and Mano was on this famous bus trip we took from Allahabad to Ungeli as one of the Baratis. I don't know how he got on there as a Barati, but he did. It was a long, perilous journey through the jungles and whatnot. He sitting in the back of the bus and entertaining everybody, assuring everybody, because we've gone through some difficult times.
When Suresh and I got married in 1966, and I became Mrs. Lal, and Rani and Mano got married in 1967, February.
And I came back, then he moved to Massachusetts. And after Massachusetts, he decided to come to Los Angeles. And I vividly remember the day that Mano arrived in Los Angeles. We're living on Cabrillo Avenue. There's a green Pinto with Rani in the front and little Jyoti bouncing around in the back. They didn't require the car seats, so Jyoti was just laying around.
Mano and Rani and Jyoti spent a year with us in early 1970s. We lived in a 3-bedroom house, total of 7 people, 3 kids and 4 adults. As I look back, those were wonderful years. We were all settling down in America.
And since then, the journey that we have taken together, I've watched Mano through so many ups and downs. Started the Gangadin Cuisine restaurant, and it was a desire, it was a dream, but he was too early for his times, having an Indian restaurant. But he didn't let himself down. He went on to start from the bottom, and took on a job and working on the docks.
Mano and Rani bought a house in Moore Park in 1976, and by then they had added a little boy to their family.
And he went on and to a career that was ended with so successful, being as a manager of quality control, the big company. I've seen Mano over the years, and I have taken so much comfort from him that how he has always picked himself up in his career, in his life, and moved on. We shared so many common interests. I can't even seem to remember, but I know especially what stands out in my mind. We loved outdoors, he and I. And we used to go camping, and the three most memorable trips that I remember is first one we went to Alaska, and then we enjoyed so much time together. Then we took a trip to Yellowstone. That was interesting, memorable. And the last trip, long trip we took was to Olympic National Park in Washington, where we just had a whale of a time. What a talent he had, this man. I loved him.
He would cook up a storm. Oh, so much food and desserts. And we loved it.
My memory fails me in so many ways. I could not share in his love cooking, because I don't know one thing about cooking. But I enjoyed his cooking. And that was such a pleasure it was to be invited to go to his house. I appreciated, Mano was so supportive. Mano was so thankful for every little thing that you do for him. He loved his family and he loved his friends, and he did everything, go out to take care of them. He always thanked me and appreciated anything I did for him.
Mano was a loving and caring brother.
And I recall the time, a few years ago, when our mama had passed away. And Mano came forward and he made all the arrangements for her, for the funeral. It was such a relief to Sudha and me, and I'm sure to the rest of our family. He was a take-charge guy.
Their move to Huntington Beach was definitely God ordained. It brought them closer to us, and we had impromptu dinner get-togethers. Mano liked these.
Mano's leaving leaves a vacuum in my life. And it'll take me a long time to get over that.
Since 1962, when he was a college student in Allahabad, India. And after that, he married Rani in 1967. Our relationship and bond became much more stronger. We often celebrated festivals, events of our lives. And we settled in Southern California about the same time in mid-1970s. Mano and Rani in Moog Park, and I with my family in Redlands. Mano has been an inspiration to all of us, a lot of energy and initiative to organize our family get-togethers and festivities. I always admired Mano. He was a man of strong faith and values. He was committed to his family and his community. His passion for photography and game of hockey was noteworthy. I'm going to miss all of that and his presence in our lives. And this is my last goodbye.
we first met him, at least myself, I first met him when we first arrived in the US and more importantly in California. We spent a few hours with Rani and Mano before we moved to Satish and Ranjana's house, where we spent quite a bit of time until we got an apartment, a car with a driver, and we drove down to the southern part of Italy, Amalfi Coast, and we stayed there for a couple of days. And while we were there, you know, we actually went for a dinner, and in order to get to the dinner, we didn't know, but it was the owner of the restaurant that offered to actually pick us up. We didn't know he was the owner, so we got in the car that he brought, and we drove off to the restaurant. When we came there, Mano started fumbling and he dropped some coins because he was thinking he's going to tip the driver. And then when we went inside the restaurant, we realized he was the actual owner, and he treated us really like royalty. So that was another interesting moment with Mano. And there is a picture also of Mano flipping the omelets that was at his house. And if I recall, he was doing something similar with spaghetti. And that spaghetti ended up on his wall and stayed there for a couple of years. At least a couple of years it stayed there. So those were some interesting moments that we shared with Mano, and we really enjoyed those times. Another thing about Mano was that during the Christmas parties, he took the leadership, particularly to direct the children for different plays, and he was one of the trio that would always be called upon to sing We Three Kings. The trio included Mano and myself as regulars, and then we would have sometimes Dan and sometimes Bimal as the third party. But that was a feature every Christmas party. This was to happen.
Bimal and myself were very fond of him. At Christmas party get-togethers, your dad was the one who made it special. I remember when you kids were little, he involved all of you in Christmas pageant. Christmas party won't be the same without your dad. You kids will have to carry on with the celebration. Hope that you will continue this together with all the families.
As will we. He was a warm, welcoming, happy person. I will remember him for that. I do have one memory. I don't know if it's a childhood memory I made up, but I do remember him with his chef hat cooking up those knishes.
We have known Mano for over 50 years, and all these years we have celebrated many events with him. In all these events, Mano stood out as a very dynamic person who engaged with a smile and friendly conversation with others. He loved people and took an interest in the younger members of the families. Over many years, Mano meticulously planned his parties.
For the Super Bowl parties at our home, Mano took great interest in organizing the football pool for betting. He was quite detailed to put the pictures of each person to each selected square. This created so much excitement during the game as to who was winning after each period of the game. Mano was interested in music and singing. He organized group singing with families during Christmas. He introduced us to sing the 12 Days of Christmas song with great gusto and excitement. During the recent Paris Olympic Games, we were reminded of Mano's passion for field hockey. He influenced so many people to be involved with the sport. Finally, we would like to close a verse from Frank Sinatra's famous song, I Did It My Way. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear. I'll state the case of which I am certain. I have lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.
That same year, this is in 1979, is when we came to California, and Mano had taken us to a New Year's Eve party where he introduced me to a gentleman named Himmat Rai, who was an active hockey player, and I very quickly joined his club, and that started my hockey business in California.
Mano Aaron started his field hockey career the day he set foot in the Los Angeles Olympics Field Hockey Stadium in the summer of 1984. Shortly after, he met Mohammed Barakat, one of the youngest field hockey Olympians for Team USA, which led him to sign up his son Salim and his niece Shofika to the Moore Park Field Hockey program, where he eventually became commissioner for the Moore Park Field Hockey Club. During his leadership, the Moore Park U12 youth program grew to 4 teams, which later led to 2 under-16 teams. He also contributed with work to build the first snack bar at the field. Mano was elected to the National Governing Board of U.S. Field Hockey. In this role, he interacted with other field hockey bases around the country, and in the midst of his administrative and player recruiting, he participated as a judge for the 1990 Olympic field hockey. Later, Mano moved from national level to his grassroots of Moore Park Field Hockey, where he served in various roles.
And our friendship began when I applied to my first job in the US, when he connected with me on my background as a hockey player and helped me get the job at 25 years. Mano became a key figure in my life, supporting my career and helping me connect with our community. His unwavering encouragement and commitment to our community have meant everything to me. Every year we reunited at the California Cup, and those moments were truly special. I also remember the memories of volunteering with him at the 1996 Olympic Atlanta. Without Manu, my family wouldn't have and had the chance to stay involved in hockey, keeping my nephew and children engaged and away from negative influence. I am deeply grateful for the effort Manu put into career hockey as an outlet for our youth. I will miss my dear friend.
Affectionately known by my family and me as Mano Sab since I was 12 years old. Mano, along with his good friend, my uncle Nafis, introduced me and my family, my cousins, my brothers, to the game of hockey, a sport that we love so much. Because of his efforts to teach us this sport and nurture our passion for this game, my friends and family, my cousins, my brothers, have played hockey together for a long time. And because of that, my cousins and my brothers and I have a deep connection from these fond memories of playing hockey as young kids all the way through our adult lives. And those joyful memories are in no small part due to Mano Sab. The memory of Mano Sab that I will carry most with me of all, that I'll carry with me most of all, is his smile. He always had a smile on his face. Even when he would argue a call in hockey, he did it with a smile. And to me, that genuine warmth and kindness is his legacy.
I first met Mano as a young kid in California, and some of my favorite childhood memories are that of playing hockey with my cousins. And Mano was a big part in creating the opportunities for those memories. You could always bank on him to find his way to your pitch in his traditional Panama hat. And he was always someone that probably believed in you more than you did yourself, whether it was trying to encourage you to go for the men's national program, or telling your entire Cousins 11 to level up and play in the Super Division the following year. He was never shy about helping you cultivate your own self-belief. As grown men, I feel we still carry his influence in our lives, and we owe him a great deal of thanks for that.
I have known him since I was a child. Him and my uncle taught us how to play field hockey, and ever since then, my brothers, me, my two best friends, my cousins, all of us have been hooked on field hockey. I've played with his team for many years, Northport Coyotes.
Mano and my uncle Nafis started a field hockey club in the San Fernando Valley, and my childhood memories of Mano are nothing of tremendous amount of respect and love for him and his passion for us. All that remains for me are just countless memories of him serving as an uncle for us as young children, trying to make it as first generation kids in the United States. All I know is that if we found a home in field hockey in Moore Park, but Mano was the blanket that kept us safe and protected us and really helped us grow into the men we have become. He has been a big part of my life and in the development of it, and I can't thank him enough. And I wish him eternal peace. I wish his family nothing but love, and his memory a blessing. And I pray that one day when I do get to meet him again, I will find him on the pitch, gathering the next group of folks to have a friendly match. He has had a profound effect on numerous lives, and I'm one of the beneficiaries of his love and his dedication to what he did.
Some significant milestones are his work to bring FHF Junior program to the LA Tigers and Club Annual for the July tournament, and his work with me for over a decade to develop a Division III for adult players wanting a less competitive hockey environment. For the past few years, Mano served as director on the California Cup Organizing Committee. In 1914, he stepped up with a selfless commitment and organized the Department of Competition with the help of his son Salim, who acts as director of umpires for the tournament, and the continued support of his wife Ronnie and daughter Jyoti. Since then, Mano has trained many new volunteers to fill the competitive subcommittee. The Field Hockey Federation and the Board of California Cup Organizing Committee wish to thank Mano for all these years of dedication to the sport. I have enjoyed knowing Mano for over 40 years. We used to go to have practice, and then we have pizza and beer with David, my brother. Pizza for Ronnie and Mano, beer for me and David, and my wife Karen was there for observation.
Dada used to take us to the Science Center a lot. And I remember this one particular time when Shalmar and I were old enough to ride the high wire bicycle. And it's a bicycle that's counterweight, and it goes on a cable probably like 2 inches thick at the max. And so we got tickets to go on it. And Shalmar and I were really scared. We were like, oh no, we're gonna fall over. Because it's 3 stories up, and you could just see the people walking below you. And so Dada was like, oh, it's fine. But we weren't confident. We thought we were gonna fall over. And he's like, look, I'm gonna do it. And he went, and he rode on the bicycle. And he looked at us, and he's like, see? And he took his hands off the handlebars and everything. And he was like, it's completely safe.
Aruna, my glass of wine is there. Can I have it?
Going back to when, I was young, that party became an event that was for the kids. There was songs and sort of Christmas festivities, and it was a pretty big deal in our family. We'd all get together wherever we were and celebrate Christmas Eve, usually before Christmas Eve or within that week of Christmas. And it was a big deal for us. So the Christmas party every year was always a volunteer event that different families would just sort of pipe up and say they want to host the party. So I remember it being at the Aaron's house. I remember it being at the Massey's house. I remember it being at our house. And I say those 3 mostly because there's a piano there. And I remember how that became a central part of the Christmas party and the Christmas event. The music, always we had the kids involved. But you have to remember, first of all, at Christmas we have these song sheets that are like a fold-in-half piece of paper with some strange graphics, and I swear they're from the 1970s or 80s, and they've never changed. So that musical sheet was the first thing that went around. And the next thing that happened with the musical sheet was some sort of event orchestrated by Uncle Mano. So that typically was either just a performance by somebody, different people categorized together for specific songs, kids playing an ensemble piece, or kids playing to people singing along, and of course, people playing on the piano for everybody to sing. Oh, I love this part. The Santa thing was our uncles, and it was every single uncle who's in the audience or not. They've all played a role in Santa. And yeah, I remember Uncle Mano especially. I know my dad. I know Uncle did it. I believe Uncle Dan had even done. There's so many people. Uncle Bimmel had been Santa. So the Santa role was really for the kids. How they came up with this, I have no idea. But Santa would come to the party, and all the kids would go up and sit on his lap and get a present. And I think we were all just bewildered. We didn't really know what to do. And eventually that passed over. The baton was passed on. And let me tell you, the Santa stuff is so fun. And it really is a good part of the party that somebody is Santa, somebody is...
There are a lot of people here, and I'm not sure if everyone's been good. If you've been good, you're going to get a gift. If you haven't been good, well... You take it with the camera, I'll be the helper. I don't know what's going to happen. Santa, can I help you to see who's been good? I'd like some help here because my
with the outfit on. And, I think the parents and it's not just the kids, right? It's really for everybody. We all kind of get a real laugh out of it because it's us having fun together. So I think, this is a tradition that was born from our parents, like you said. And it was specifically, like you mentioned, these people. And obviously, I think that baton is passed. And I think specifically we're seeing our generation carrying that role. Right now, I think Shlita Jyoti and I work together. And there's a lot of people who volunteer and get involved. And I think the party needs to continue. I think all of us need to find a way to look back at these photos and look back at this time we spent and how much it meant to us and how it can mean the same thing for other people, our kids in the future. So for me, I'm ball positive. I'm saying we do it. And I say that we should always remember at that moment, not right now, but at that moment, remember, hey, this matters. Let's try and make this happen. Let's try and make this an event that we can all be involved in.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye, Santa.
Canada, Banff. I think we flew into Spokane.
And this was in 1993.
So it was just the Aarons and us.
And from there we both rented cars. We actually rented luxury cars.
And we rented these giant boats. We had an Oldsmobile and I think my uncle had a Cadillac. But the brilliant idea that my uncle came up with was Salim and I should drive. Salim and I were probably 16 and a half, maybe 17, had our driver's license, I think maybe for 6 months if we were lucky. And mind you, some of these trips were through mountains, and I don't think that the people in the back seats were as thrilled, but Salim and I were ecstatic, over the moon.
Another memorable occasion was our camping trip in Yosemite, where Jamila, myself, Yasmin, and Shilpika had already arrived in Yosemite, and we were sitting by some ponds.
We were coming from different areas and we were to meet there. But along the way, old school, there's no bathrooms. So my sister and I had to go to the bathroom. So we pull over to the side and it's in the jungle area. So we get out and we go find some trees and, But as we are finishing,
and all of a sudden we see the Aaron's station wagon coming up.
We hear people talking and coming, so we kind of scamper. Turns out it was my uncle and his family. They had seen our car parked on the side, pulled over, and came to join us. Thankfully, we had finished before they actually got there.
Basically joined them, and together we went and we camped in our tent cabins.
But there's so many of those memories and so many trips like that.
Later in my junior year of high school, he was there when my team won our first ever gold. He watched us. He watched me score one of the winning strokes. He had confidence in me. Nani was there too. Nani had no confidence in me. But most recently, our most recent conversation was about my future career and career choices. He was so irritated and so confused when I told him I was going to be a medical scribe for an orthopedic. And he could not understand how I couldn't get any other job given my newfound love for biomedical engineering and my master's degree in biomedical engineering. And even though I tried to explain to him, this is a stepping stone, you need to do this to get into medical school, he was still like, I think you should apply to Amgen and Northrop, and I think you should talk to this person who's in engineering. He was really trying to fix this problem, and to this moment, it still really makes me laugh that he's so concerned that I'm not using my engineering degree, but rather a degree that you don't even need a high school diploma to do. So I love him very much, and I will miss it.
The first family party I went to was at his house on Rutgers, and he invited me in, took me straight to the kitchen, and explained to me all the food.
Every single time there was some new food. His salmon being grilled and the roar of the blender. And there was always a new drink. Something he made, some mix, some smoothie, some fruit juice.
And the thing that stood out the most was the food should leave a glow in your mouth. It shouldn't be too spicy that you can't eat it, but it should be just spicy enough where there's a glow. And that's the way the food should be. But his graciousness also extended to anyone's house he visited.
I remember one time our entire family was sick and he brought a pot of soup for us. We all ate it. I told him this is one of the greatest soups I've ever had. What's the recipe? He said, I don't really know. I just put stuff in it and I don't really remember.
As a niece living less than a mile away, he's been full of advice, which I really appreciated because I admired his bold approach to so many things. He'd lend a hand for both trivial and important events. I recall he helped my mom staging my headshots for a toddler beauty pageant I was going to enter. We were in his garden. He was adjusting a parasol just so because he was particular about getting details right. And then later in life, he was boosting me into my first engineering job at the same place where he worked. Some of my memories are tangible. I still have many of his gifts from along the years because they were so well considered. He was giving me some things to share a bit of his history, heritage, experience, things he enjoyed. We both had a love of P.G. Wodehouse. Maybe share some of his vocabulary too, as he once subscribed me to Grammar magazine verbatim. I loved it. He introduced me to words like curmudgeonly, which he used to describe himself for many decades. When I had kids, his umbrella expanded to share what he could with the next generation. One day, he sent over an overflowing package, and now I've got all the memos from the 1990s Moore Park Field Hockey Club, some coaching manuals, balls, Christmas music, chess strategy, and Indian fables. Some of my rooms are starting to look like the Rutgers Circle Garage, and I don't mind it.
At his house in the summer times as well. I'll never forget the chores we had to do and the infamous story where me and Jay and Jyoti were cleaning the backyard, and Jyoti will remember this, and we were asked to clean something, and for some reason we thought we can get this giant bush out with a shovel, and we all sat on the shovel handle, and of course it broke. And Uncle Mano was really unimpressed when he came home that day with the work we'd done, and it was one of those stories that lives on and on. I remember this time where he said, I'm going to give you $10 because of all the work you did. And he took us to the record store, and all of us went and bought like a little tape, right? A rock and roll tape. And I bought a tape from The Who, and he just was, are you sure you want to buy this rock music tape? It was such a foreign idea to him. It was really funny, the look on his face as he kept asking me if I can buy this. My mom would let me buy it. Are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I can buy this, And I must have been 12 years old or something. And he was always like that. He challenged you and he talked to you, and he was very engaging, even when I was a young boy. The summers over there, the tennis lessons, the tennis camp, walking to Moore Park College and back. And I had a friend pass a couple years ago, and I think about him all the time. And now I know what that means. People will forget what you said, and people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And he always made me feel special.
I've put together
a list of the top 9 Mano uncles. Number 9, Mano uncle style icon. This man could rock a mustache. In his prime, he had a mustache that would rival Tom Selleck or Burt Reynolds. And when he found that bolo tie, there was no going back.
Every party he showed up with some eccentric article of clothing, whether it be a cowboy hat, a bow tie, suspenders, and on the rare occasion a flaming colored turban. He would always show up with a smile and his camera, ready for whatever is coming.
Number 8, Mano uncle commuter. I took many car rides with Mano uncle as he shuttled me from my house in LA to his house in Moore Park. One trip, we were on the 10 overpass, going to the 405, merging into the 405 North. Traffic comes to a halt. We're just sitting there. I'm just used to sitting in traffic, not Mano uncle. He calmly, assuredly, took out the LA Times, opened the front page, across the steering wheel, and just proceeded to read the newspaper. Number 7, home improvement Mano uncle. This is a man skilled at keeping a project alive. One summer, Salim and I moved 500 or so bricks from one side of his house in Moore Park all the way to the other side. It was like a week's worth of work. We worked very slowly. The next summer, we moved those bricks back. His approach to his home projects raises an important philosophical question. Why finish?
You know, he always has projects going from upholstering a sofa to repairing, painting, putting new windows.
The house on Rutgers had to add a 3rd bathroom to the back of the house. I think that discussion was at every party. And then that discussion turned to, can we add a fireplace? He wanted a fireplace in the house, so we would discuss what it would take to do that.
Number 6, the astronomer. In 1986, one of those summers I was spending at Salim's house, Mano uncle woke us up far too early, dragged us out of bed, drove us to Moore Park College, made us trudge up one of the hills. He planted down this telescope, and he beckoned me over, and he pointed at the eyepiece. I looked in, and there I could see Halley's Comet. Number 5, he was Mano uncle, uniquely skilled, surpassed by none, at planning vacations that didn't involve any rest or any relaxation.
I remember my parents would be in the kitchen with my Uncle Ronnie and Auntie. They'd have a big board out. They'd be figuring out flights, car rentals, hotels, destinations. But these vacations were epic. My uncle was always the most gung-ho to go, do, see, and fit in, pack in as much as he could in every vacation. It was tiring for, I think, some parents, but us kids loved it. I mean, we had all the energy in the world.
Mano, as you know, wanted to do multiple things at the same time. We went to the sunrise service. Thereafter, we went fishing. Then we went to Mount Baldy, and then finally went to Raja's house where the party was.
Whenever we came to the US, he always took us around to so many places. So that America is not a very strange place to us anymore. We've been to so many places with him and Rani.
Mano will not let anybody rest till the day was over and everybody's exhausted and seen everything that's in and around there.
And he kept on asking for revised itineraries of George, and it was actually, I was feeling exhausted because he was so active and he kept on giving a lot of information about various tourist places, and he was very helpful, and I really appreciate the effort he took so that George could spend his time wisely.
Number 4, Mano uncle the grill master, best ribs.
He was the master chef.
in barbecuing all the different kinds of meat and fish.
With an extensive grilling menu of salmon cooked over cedar planks, tasty kebabs, ribs, and chicken.
And he had barbecued and smoked and did everything he could do to a piece of meat.
Number 3, Mano Uncle, a documentarian. In the 70s and 80s, Mano Uncle was the master of the original selfie stick, the tripod. There are so many images of our family at that time. Usually in someone's backyard, all of us bunched together. The people who lived there, maybe 1 or 2 people from India, maybe Dada or Dadi, all the kids at the bottom, and Mano Uncle. Either on the bottom left or the bottom right. He has just pushed the button on the camera. He has run back, crouched down, looking up. So many of our memories are created by those photographs. Later, Mano Uncle, when he got the video camera, just shot endless footage of our parties.
And as my brother told, we went to Madhur Pratipala and we even performed a little cinema video. I could even watch the clip with Salim Chitapa when I was in Maryland. We had the old clips and we played it, and it was really nostalgic to see those videos. It is a treasure that he has like 70 rolls of it from various occasions.
Number 2, he was the definition of avuncular. Generous, always in good spirits, always happy to see you, greeting you with just such warmth. And most importantly, from an uncle, he never gave unsolicited advice. He never gave advice. Nobody wants advice on how to run their life. The best you want from an uncle is a good listener and some laughs. Number 1. There were no 2 better words to get when opening an email from Mano Uncle than kith and kin. I don't know what those 2 words mean, but anytime there was a Mano Uncle email with kith or kin, you knew a party was being planned. We had a community at one time, and Mano Uncle wasn't just a member, he was a planner. His last party is a 2-location barn burner, starting at the beach, ending up at his house with a massive barbecue. Our bonds, our connection, our sense of a family is not magical. We have these bonds and these connections because of our time spent together.
Some of my fondest memories of the family parties. I remember going to Avi's house. It would be a 60-minute ride up to 118, 405, 10, hit the Bundy exit, and I knew we were 5 minutes away. And we'd have some of the most joyous moments together. But invariably, the knock always came. Get your jacket, go to the bathroom, we're leaving. And we'd always be the first to leave. And I remember I'd always ask him as I was falling asleep, I said, Dad, why do we have to leave now? And he would tell me, you know, son, you want to leave when the party's at its best, because you'll always remember it at its best. And to this day, I have some of the fondest memories of those family parties. As his last moments were coming, and one of the final days when he was speaking to me, he said, you know, today I've decided in 30 minutes we're going to call it. This is not the life I want to live. I know I'm done. My mom's sitting there, my sister's sitting there. We're all in stunned silence. Argued with them, fought with them, shed tears. And eventually he said, okay, I'll try some more treatment. After 5 days, it was clear that we had passed the peak of the party. And for just that one time, he'd stay till the end.
I'm thankful. I'm grateful for all of you. I love you all. Thank you. Good night.